Hey, pals. Welcome to Frame and Fiber. I am Paige Miller, your host, and I'm so glad you made it here today. My YouTube channel. I'm really thankful that you're here spending time with me on my channel, which is kind of a mishmash of the things that I am making. I make quite a lot of things. Some of them being the things I make here at Frame and Fiber, which is my picture framing and yarn studio in Point Pleasant, New Jersey. So I show you a lot of those things. I mainly talk about my fiber arts adventures, which is knitting, crocheting, cross stitching, that kind of stuff. I also bring you into my garden and into my kitchen. So I hope those things are of interest to you. If I do mention something that you would like to know more about, I will have links in the down bar, but I will also answer any questions. So feel free to leave a comment or to send me a message. Again, my contact information will be down listed below. So how have you been since last we met? I hope you are well. Things have been pretty good here. We had a snow and ice storm on Sunday, which was pretty cool because that was Sunday. Saturday, the day before, it was like springtime. So the next day it snowed for, I think it almost snowed for 12 hours straight. It was crazy how much snow we got. It fell, but didn't accumulate. It was one of those great, my favorite kind of snow. It didn't stick to the streets or the sidewalks, but it stuck to the ground and the trees. And so everything was pretty, but you didn't have to deal with it. It was really nice. But because of that, I had Sunday afternoon kind of quiet to myself. It was really relaxing. The cat was glad to have us home all day. The chickens were glad to have us home. And I used that time to get some things done. I have been experimenting with fermenting my food. So far, it's been great. My sauerkraut. I did a 21-day ferment of some cabbage that I bought at my farmer's market, and it is so honkin' delicious. I can't even tell you. I started carrots the day of the snowstorm, so that'll be great. I think I'm going to do a 2-week ferment with those, and I was thinking it would be kind of cool to take some of them, snack on them, but I was thinking to then puree them and make it into a salad dressing. So I will let you know. I've been fermenting the chickens' food too. The chickens have really been enjoying the fermented food as long as I don't leave it out there and let it get frozen. It's been that cold. I also started some seeds over the weekend. My cold crops, let's see, what did I start down there? Couple different types of cabbages, kales, cauliflower. What else is down there? I forget. But I'm just so excited to have gardening. I'm like on the edge of the garden, so I'm very excited for that season to start. And I'm excited too because over the weekend I used the last of my yard sauce. I think it was the last bag. I think I have one. So I make yard sauce with my vegetables. The one that I used up was the last of my tomato-based yard sauce. So it's, tomatoes and garlic and basil all roasted together and then pureed into a sauce that I freeze. So Miller and I were a little bit sad with that being the last. That's what I use generally for pastas. And then I have another yard sauce that I make, which is tomato, but it's 50% tomato and 50% mishmash of whatever I had ripe that week. So I make yard sauce about once or twice a week, depending on what I have. So like sometimes there's heavy on the eggplants and peppers and squash. It's really yummy, and it's a great way to extend my veggies throughout the year. So perfect timing to get back in the garden soon. I also, I did a lot because of the snowstorm, because also on Monday, I didn't really go out and do much because, it was cold and hung in the house. But I ended up frogging my Massaman sweater, or my vest. It was a beautiful piece, and if I had just added the positive ease that I needed, it would have been perfect. But I frogged it. I gave the yarn a bath after I skeined them up, and so here is my vest. This is not going to become the Massaman vest, however, because I did try the vest on with the sweater, with the dress that I have intended to wear it with, and realized I don't think I like a vest with that dress. This color is like the perfect color for this dress, so this has to be something else. And what I think I want with that dress is a cardigan. Do you remember? I think they still make them, like Land's End and LL Bean, all of those kind of companies. They have like their signature classic button-down cardigan. I think I want a cardigan similar to that. I'm having a hard time finding a pattern, so if you guys know of a cardigan, that I'll give you my prerequisites. This is a worsted weight yarn, so it has to be worsted weight. And I want it to be open front. It doesn't need to be buttons, because I don't want a button up cardigan. Like, I don't want a yoked cardigan, because I don't like the way yoked cardigans look when they're open. They without being buttoned, I should say, because I don't like the way they flop and fall. So I almost want like either a V-neck, or I'm not sure, but something. If you know of a sweater pattern that you think would be great, a cardigan pattern. It doesn't matter if it's knit in pieces, if it's knit in the round and steeked. Although I don't really want to steek it because I don't want it to be floppy. So will you help me out? Let me know what you think. So this is going to be a cardigan. I would like this to be cast on by the next time you and I talk. So I got to do some research. Oh, I was thinking the Felix cardigan, because a customer of mine came in over the weekend to show me her most recent make, which is gorgeous. She made the Felix pullover by Amy Christophers, which is great. She also has a cardigan version of the pullover, so I thought, oh, maybe I'll do that. But it calls for an Aran weight yarn. This is worsted. So, I need to use this. However, I will be casting on a Massaman, because I did all that work to figure out my size, and it came out so great, and it was such a great knit. Like, it was super fun to make. So I've decided that I'm going to make it in this natural color from Navia. This is called Trio. It is their worsted weight Faroese wool, or I should say it's a blend. It's Faroese, Faroese, Shetland, and Australian lamb's wool. It is a woolen spun yarn. The company is Navia. They happen to be one of my favorite yarns to work with. I'm wearing my Ultra sweater designed by Scandier, which I made in Navia. This is in Navia Duo, the sport weight. So this is the worsted, there's a sport, and then there's like a very light fingering weight. So if you love if you love color work, check out Navia. I do sell this in my shop and on my online shop on Etsy, so you can check that out. It's great for color work. It's a super warm yarn. So I think this would be great for the Massaman vest, because I will most likely wear it, you know, with jeans, or like over top of, my friend Marce just put up a video of the Hey Brownberry podcast, of her most recent make, which is a vest. I think the designer, I don't remember, I'll put it down here. But Marce was trying on different outfits with it, and she had a crisp white Oxford shirt underneath with the collar, and I'm like, oh, that's perfect. That's what I want. So, oh, but not white because this is cream. I have a gray, a very charcoal gray Oxford that I love, and I think that would be cool with this. So that's what I want to do. Any other things to say? No, Massaman. Like I said, I love Navia. I also want to point out that looking on the viewfinder, my hair looks exceptionally gray today. Is it grayer than it was last time you and I chatted? I think I had a hat on last time we chatted. So maybe you didn't see it. Or is it because I'm wearing a gray sweater? It's bringing out the gray. You know, like blue-eyed people, when they wear blue shirts, their eyes look bluer. Maybe my hair looks grayer. Okay. So yeah, those are not really works in progress, but they're kind of works in progress. Did I mention that this is Quince & Co. Lark? I also sell this in my Etsy shop. It is worsted weight. I did say that, yes. So yeah. Sunday, even though we did have the snowstorm, we did go out for dinner. We took my Aunt Amy out for her birthday, and I gave her the socks that I showed you from last week. I gave her the socks. I gave her some dried apples. I've been dehydrating like a maniac too. So I gave her some dehydrated apples for her birthday. And I gave her some green powder. So I've been dehydrating dark leafy greens to put into my smoothies. So I gave her some of that with her socks. She loved her socks, and she loved them so much that she said she would wear fingerless mitts that match. So the yarn that I have left over, I have a smidge left over. I was originally going to make myself a pair of socks so we could match. But instead, I'm going to make her a pair of fingerless mitts to match her socks. So I finished my socks. I think it's so funny when I was putting Aunt Amy's socks onto these sock blockers. They were perfect because she has such tiny feet and my feet are not so tiny, and so they're a little bit loose on these blockers. These blockers are made by my friend Patricia at Knitography Farms. You can find her on Instagram as P410. Isn't it pretty? The Norwegian rosette or star. So these are my most recent finishes. I did have these cranked by my friend Aquila. She'll be linked below too. If you have sock yarn you'd like to have cranked into tubes, which are so fun because they make for quick knitting or quick project finishing, I should say, because I knit the heels, toes, and cuffs. I love this right here, the toe that I've been doing, which is just a wedged toe, but I've been stitching the decreases 2 in from the edge, 2 stitches in from the edge. Well, not the edge, but yeah, I guess it's the edge. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's not an edge because I'm knitting in the round, but you know what I mean. 2 stitches in instead of next to each other. And I really like the way that looks. I think it's pretty. So yeah, did that for my heel as well. And then my cuff I made a little bit smaller than I normally make. Usually it's double that size. This is about 1 inch, and I usually do about 2 to 2.5 inches. But I'm excited to wear these. So that is one work in progress that is now a finished object. I have other works in progress to share with you. My first one, both of them are shawls. The first shawl you saw last week, but I did just want to mention that I am close to being finished. So this is the Memento shawl that I've been working on, and I cannot remember the maker, the designer's name, but it's beautiful. I just finished the last of my repeats, so I need to bind off half of it and then continue on the other half of the triangle, and then graft this piece and this piece together. It's in timeout just because I haven't had the mental wherewithal to graft. So because of that, and because I'd finished my socks and I had ripped out my vest, I didn't have any other knitting whips going, and so I cast on another shawl. So that's my memento shawl. I will show that to you guys. I'm hoping it'll be finished by the next time we talk. I feel like I say that a lot and then I don't have something finished, but I won't show it to you again until it's finished. How about that? I'll promise. Okay. These are both living in the same bag, which is really bad, and tonight I need to separate them because they're not playing well together. So this shawl is the Field, or just called Field, by Maxim Sear. I believe I'm saying his name correctly. A customer of mine came in over the weekend to show off his shawl that he's making. It's this shawl, and it's beautiful. It is just garter. It is simple. It has an I-cord edge. It's lovely potato chip knitting. It's just what the doctor called for. So here's my cast on. I cast it on last night. So yeah, there's that lovely I-cord edge, the lovely, just one little stripe. And this is the repeat, like this stripe here, I'm ready to do now. And then it goes for a bunch of times until you get to the center of the shawl. And then you switch your colors. Color A, color B becomes color B and color A. And then you decrease on the other side. So it's like a half and half wrap, but not as boring. It's still boring, but I'm looking for boring. Not boring, I shouldn't say boring. It's just really simple. So let me show you the yarns that I'm using. My color A. So the pattern calls for a DK weight yarn. However, it's a DK weight hand spun. So in my mind, I'm like, that could maybe be a worsted. It could maybe be a sport. I feel like this is a very versatile pattern. You just have to change your needle size to match your yarn and then go for it. So I am, instead of using DK, I'm using a worsted weight mixed with an Aran weight. Color A is worsted, color B is Aran. So color A is this beautiful purple color from Cascade Yarns. It's Cascade 220 in the color 2450. I think it's called Mystic Purple, and it's so pretty. I've had this caked up in my bin of scraps. I don't know why. I don't know if I was teaching a class using this or if I was going to take a class, but I never ended up using it. And it sat there for a while. But the perfect yarn showed up and I had to match them and I had to cast them on for this project. So the yarn that I am pairing it with is hand dyed by Toad Hollow. Let me grab both of these so you can see how lovely they are. Again, this is an Aran weight yarn. Isn't it pretty? This is on their Sweater Toad base. It's 100% superwash merino. It is squishy goodness. This was dyed by the ladies in the Hollow in memoriam of their sweet pets, Spike and Tabitha. Spike was their dog and Tabitha was their cat, and they both passed away like within months of each other. Weeks maybe. It was pretty devastating to my friends, and it was hard. They wanted to do something, and they decided to do a colorway in their memory, and they donated $5 from every skein sold to an animal shelter. They ended up raising $1,000 that they ended up donating. Isn't that amazing? I think I don't know how many different shelters in the area, but one of them, All for One, I think is the name of it, is the shelter or the rescue that paired them up with Hugo, their now puppy. So I think it's so great. And I'm really excited to be making this project, which is just comforting, and I don't know, I can just curl up with it on the couch. I can't wait. I think it's perfect to go with the sentiment of the yarn. So let me show you these together so you can see how bloody perfect, bloody brilliant they are together. I mean, what? So I plan on knitting on this often. This is one of those shapes too. It's a very long, thin shawl. It's called a shawl in my opinion because of the way it is constructed, but to me it's a scarf. It's 24 inches deep and 108 inches long. It's a scarf, or a wrap, I guess. But I think if you're a muggle and you receive something like this as a gift, you might not know what to do with it. And so if you call it a scarf, it tells them what to do with it. But it's one of my favorite ways, or one of my favorite shapes of shawls, because I really love doing that double wrap and then tie around my neck and wearing it more like a scarf. So I think this is gonna be lovely. I don't know how much wear I'll get out of it this year because winter is coming to an end, but that's okay. I can still snug up with it in the cool evenings. Okay, I wanted to interrupt here. My past self would like to speak with you for a minute. Hi friends, I want to ask you to consider something. No obligation, but wanted to throw this out there. My sweet landlord, she lost her mom right before the holidays, and she is so devastated, rightfully so. It's yeah. Do I need to say more? No. Her mom was a knitter. She was a very organized knitter. I have 3 baby blankets here that she had started for, I don't know if they were grandchildren's or great-grandchildren. But these projects here all have the yarn, the pattern, and the needles, and they are ready to be finished. And her sweet husband, who is devastated for her, dropped these off and asked, if you know people who are able, if you're able, could we have these finished? So I'm asking you guys if you could help me with this, because there's 3 blankets. There's not too much knitting left. There's about a skein. It's acrylic yarn. They're the bigger skeins, so they're not 100 grams. They could be like 200 grams of like worsted weight, DK weight yarn. Let me show you. Here's the pink blanket. And am I going too fast? I'm probably going too fast. And here's the blue blanket. So they're really sweet little blankets. Like I said, all of everything is here. It's like a kit ready to go. So if you have time, if you are willing and would like to help me do this for Sandra, will you contact me? Send me an email at pagetheframer@gmail.com, or if you're on Instagram, you can send me a direct message there as well. I will ship these to you. I will pay for the shipping back, so you don't have to shell out any money to help me. If you're able, please don't feel obligated to say yes. Do not feel like, no pressure. But I want to put it out there because there's 3 blankets and I can't do all 3 of them. So if you're able to help, great. I really appreciate you considering this. Okay. Okay. Is that it? No, that's not it. I have a few more things to show you. Let me show you my cross stitch whip. I showed it to you last week. I'm still plunking along. I end up knitting on this. Nope, not knitting, working on this, stitching on this. Almost every evening. I don't get that much done because I don't have that much time, But I've made kind of a commitment to myself to every time I do this to be able to knit work on it. I want to do one length of floss minimum each time I do this. So I've been averaging about 1 or 2 per night. So it's not much. I've been doing the measurement from my wrist to my elbow. That's the length of the floss. I forget. I feel like a customer came in and told me about that little trick. But it's long enough that I don't get any knots, and short enough that I can finish it. So that's what I've been doing. I did have to rip out 2 lengths of floss because I ended up right here. I think you can see right there. I had to rip out because it was off by 1 stitch. So that was the first time I've ever had to rip out. So whatevs. So here we are. This is called Winter Garden design. It's a design from Modern Folk Embroidery. I am stitching this on 40 count linen. I don't know where the linen came from. Well, I know where it came from. I don't know what the brand is. I am using DMC in the colorway 893, and it is 1 strand of floss over 2 strands of linen. 1 over 2. That's what cross stitchers say. I can't wait to frame this. I cannot wait to frame this. I have so many cross stitches that have come into the shop in the past few weeks. Thank you guys. I know I say this every time, but I keep getting more cross stitches, so thank you. So yeah, I have a bunch to frame. I have some really cute ones back there. I have an epic one. It's huge. Yeah. So that though, cross stitch reminds me that I need to announce a winner. Last episode, I showed you guys a kit that I bought that I should not have bought. Although I'm glad I bought it because it supports my friend Rachel, who owns Treehouse Fiber Arts. You can visit her, she's linked below, and see her her shop. She has all kinds of really cool cross stitch kits and accessories, so go check that out. And the kit that I'm giving away is a Barbara Anna design, and it is called, I feel like it's called Love Never Fails, but it might be called Love Prevails, which I feel like is the same thing, just said differently. Anyway, it's a lovely kit, and I love it. That's why I bought it. But as I started stitching it, I realized I wasn't going to finish it, and I was very, very I wasn't very far along. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So I offered it to you guys, and I picked a winner. Thank you guys for commenting. I always appreciate the interaction with you guys in the comments. It makes me so happy. I think, did I mention this in the last video? But I don't have a set. Hold on, I will get back to that. Let me tell you who the winner is. The winner of that kit of my giveaway is Ellen Potter, right? Ellen Potter? Yes, not Porter. Yes, Potter. Ellen Potter. Ellen, if you're watching this, will you please DM me on Instagram or send me an email, contact info below, with your mailing address and I know your full name. It's Ellen Potter. And I will ship that out to you immediately. So yeah, I really, really love the interaction here. You know, it's funny, like I love the interaction on all the social medias. I say all, I only use Instagram and YouTube. And I love Instagram too, but for some reason YouTube just feels more connected. I don't know why. Maybe it's because this is a video and I'm chatting rather than just an image with a sentence or two. I have no idea. But that said, I think in the last episode I talked about my channel, and if you've watched any number of my videos, I don't have a set format. A lot of these crafting podcasts or vlog well, podcasty things, which is what I know a lot of makers are into. You like the, sit down and know what you're going to get. We're going to go down this like road of like whips and finished objects and acquisitions and all of that. And I love all that. And obviously I just did some of that. But my videos don't necessarily follow that, which has proven to me to be, I don't want to say negative because I'm enjoying them. And if you're here watching it with me now and you haven't left, it means you're enjoying them. But I mentioned that I wanted to do more videos that were still things that I'm making and creating, but not necessarily in the fiber arts. And I lost so many subscribers last week. I don't show a subscriber count on my YouTube page. I'm not really into those vanity metrics. I don't, it's for me, I follow them. I follow it because I follow my metrics, because I do want to do videos that people like, but I also need to do videos that I like. So, but yeah, I just thought it was funny. I'm like, oh, okay. So I've been doing all kinds of different videos, but as soon as I start mentioning that I'm going to continue doing that, that's when I lose all the subscribers. So if you're still here, thank you. Thanks for being my friend. So all of that to say, even though people will come and go, I really enjoy this interaction with you guys. So thank you. Thanks for being here with me. Another giveaway that I wanted to mention was the New to You Make Along 2022 that was hosted by the girls at Cocktail Hour at the Coop over on Instagram. I was a prize donor. So I donated 2 prizes. One was to the grand prize. I love the way that the girls do this make along. It's a try something new kind of a make along. Very low key, try something new. That's it. You don't have to like it. You don't have to finish it. Just try it. And it ran from the 1st of January to the 14th of February. And I love how they do it, because they get a whole bunch of, Instagram business owners or YouTube blah blah blahs. Anyway, a bunch of us together, and excuse me, we all donate a prize to the grand prize winner, which means one person gets a prize from all of us. And I think there were 15 donors, so they got 15 prizes. And then we all pick our favorite, or random, which usually I do random, but this year I picked one specifically. And then you give a prize to that person. So I end up giving 2 prizes away. And it's super fun. It's a great little community over there they've cultivated. And so the grand prize winner was, I wrote this down because I wanted to let you guys know, Sherry, who is RxDRZ Crafts. I guess that's RX Dr. Z Crafts on Instagram. She was our grand prize winner, Sherry. So I sent her stuff out today. And then I also sent to Crafty Kristen J. She was my pick for the make along. And I picked her because she did embroidery for the first time. And I've been really loving making embroidery pieces. And so it was really fun to see her do that. And yeah, so I picked her. It was really cool. So yay. If you joined the New to You Make Along, awesome. I'm glad. And if you didn't, check it out next year. It'll start January 1st, I'm sure. So that brings us to the end of the episode. I did want to chat a little bit with you about the books I've been reading, but maybe I'll just chat about one instead of a bunch. I do read. I listen more than I read because I do spend a lot of time alone. But I like to multitask. I like to be doing and making things. Or I'm at work. I mean, I'm here for 8 to 10 hours a day, so I have a lot of time to listen. And so I listen to quite a lot of books. I do listen to a lot of stories while I'm working rather than nonfiction, because I like to kind of get immersed in it, and I don't necessarily get immersed in nonfiction because it's more learning. So a lot of the things that I listen to are obviously fiction, and sci-fi and fantasy, which is obviously fiction, is my favorite genre to listen to. I do break out of that sometimes, but not often, which is to my detriment. I really do need to break out. So I do listen to Helen and Mary Beth of Toad Hollow, their suggestions. They read so many books. I listen to I like recommendations from Shelby of Shelby in the Bookstore. And I also like to listen to the recommendations of Tommy of Dynamite Trujillo, or the Moonstone Makes podcast here on YouTube. But I'm always looking for suggestions. And I think, not now because you might not know what I'm into, but as I start talking more about books in my videos, maybe you'll have a suggestion for me. But I did want to mention that I started reading Worn by Sophie Thanhauser. Sophie Thanhauser. Worn, A People's History of Clothing. It was recommended to me by Rachel from Treehouse Knits, and she and I and a few others are going to have a book club, and we're going to discuss the books, and we're going to discuss it in segments. So the author wrote this book, which is a history, and it's a comprehensive history of clothing, and how it has formed our history, how it has formed politics, how it has shaped our world. And it's very interesting. It's a lot to learn. But the author broke it into sections, and the first section is linen. So she writes it about the fibers. So the first is linen, cotton, silk, synthetics, and then wool. So 5 sections. I finished linen. It's a great read. It's something that I probably will listen to again because there's a lot to learn. It is pretty heavy. I mean, she definitely goes into, I love that history now. I love that the writers of history now purpose to show us history from as many perspectives as they can, from 360 view instead of a very narrow view. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect view. And she, she talks about that, but it's great. I definitely recommend it so far. It's been pretty interesting. Linen is one of those fabrics that the more I get to know and understand, the more I want everything in my wardrobe made out of linen. I want to start growing flax in my backyard, and I want to. No, I don't, but yes, I do. I think it would be so cool. I have noticed my friend Ann Choi, who owns Middlebrook Fiberworks here in New Jersey, she's a shepherdess. She, over the pandemic, started hand stitching clothing, and she's been making the most beautiful hand stitch clothing. And then I saw Amy Beth at the Fat Squirrel podcast talk about hand stitching. And then I saw Marce of the Hey Brown Berry podcast talk about hand stitching. And Marce specifically was talking about linen. And watching Marce talk about her just getting to know the linen in her hands and reading the book from Worn, maybe now I need to learn how to hand stitch some clothing. I mean, if I'm gonna grow flax. Anyway, that's what I'm reading. Let me know if you've read it or if it's something that you would be interested in reading. I'm always up for a book chat, so if you have read it or are reading it or will be reading it and would like to chat, let me know. We can definitely get together. I think I'm gonna leave that here, kids. Ooh, sorry, I kicked the table. My throat is getting a little scratchy. I need to clean up this mess. I need to go home and eat some dinner and knit on my shawl. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you made it this far. I really appreciate you guys being here with me and making my YouTube channel a place that I like to come back to over and over. And I hope it's a place you like to visit as well. So tell your friends, invite them over. I'm only drinking water today, but I'll make them tea. All right, kids. Thanks so much. And until next time, be well and happy making.